We have been trying to explain and understand the impact of this oil disaster on flora and fauna all over the Gulf Coast. It is never a good sign when you have to think about humans this way, but, you know, we're fauna too. Joining us now is Riki Ott, a community activist and a former commercial salmon fisherman who has a degree in marine toxicology. Riki's also the author of the book, Not One Drop, Promises, Betrayal, and Courage in the Wake of the Exxon Valdez Oil Spill. Riki Ott, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's good to have you on the show.
Good evening, Rachel.
So obviously, this is an environmental disaster. It is an economic disaster. Are you worried that it is or it might become a public health disaster as well?
I am down here specifically to try to prevent it from becoming a human health tragedy, which is the next step. What I'm seeing is the build-up to exactly what happened in Alaska.
What did you learn from the Exxon Valdez disaster about the short-term effects of exposure to oil and the long-term health effects? What should people down here consider to be the lessons learned from the Valdez?
Hard hats are not enough on the workers. People need respirators. This is oil spill response is considered a hazardous waste operation. These are incredibly toxic chemicals, the oil in and of itself. The Louisiana crude has a lot higher proportion of light ends, the amount of oil that evaporates into the air and dissolves into the water column. This is incredibly hot stuff for people to be breathing, and it's not just the workers out on the cleanup. In the communities, they're considered bad air days, the days when the air smells like oil, and people are getting the same symptoms as the workers, only to a little bit lesser degree. Headaches, nausea, sore throats, stuffy sinuses. This is all classic hallmark symptoms of overexposure to basically crude oil. Central nervous system problems, respiratory problems.
What are the long-term effects of that kind of exposure? Obviously, the size of the dose of the exposure makes a big difference in terms of how your system copes with it. But people who are experiencing symptoms like that right now, people who are worried about exposure like that, what do they need to think about in terms of long-term risks?
It's actually dose plus host makes the poison. And so what we see offshore, you know, people who have respiratory problems already might be a little bit more sensitive. What people need to think is respirators. Onshore in these communities, they need to be thinking the same thing. If they're going outside on bad air days, I mean, we need to be serious here. Respirators, I'm also actually taking myself nutritional supplements for build up my immune system, respiratory system, and sinus.
Let me just get your reaction also briefly to the clip from the president that we just played about the risks to people who are involved closely with the oil. Do you feel like people who are working in the cleanup effort and the people, as you say, who live in areas where oil has come ashore, do you feel like people are getting any of the right information, any of the right protection? Has there been enough communication about these risks, and what should what do you think the government should be doing?
Definitely not yet. The information has not been communicated yet to the people. People are being told in Louisiana, oh, if it smells bad, go inside, close the windows, turn on the air conditioning. Well, potentially this is going to last all summer. People can't stay inside all summer. People need to understand that these cold and flu-like symptoms that they're getting, you know, they look kind of benign. A headache, a sore throat, I mean, maybe that's all it is. Actually, it could be chemical poisoning. This requires specialty doctors who are trained in occupational and environmental medicine. This is not like your regular traditional doctors. And the hospital should be working up a data set of all this. And the hospital should be warning people, you know, if the sore throat persists on days when you smell oil in particular, come on in, let's check you out. Long enough, if people are misdiagnosed, people could wind up like they did Exxon Valdez. I am still dealing with workers who are 100% disabled now. These acute symptoms can manifest into some very nasty systemic type illnesses, immune suppression, chronic respiratory problems, brain fogs and dizziness, and also a whole smattering of organ failures like liver, kidney, even blood disorders. So this is pretty serious stuff.
Riki Ott, activist, author, and marine toxicologist, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's good to have your insight and your expertise. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Rachel.